You say NIREC or NIREC? Or?
NIREC.
NIREC.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not a very sexy title, but it fits.
It's good. It's good.
So what are your names? Because it's a small group. So Ed?
Yeah.
Ellen. Nice to meet you both.
Michael.
So I'm Bryan. I'm with NIREC. We're located up in Incline Village. We got started in about 2007, and we focus on clean energy economy in Nevada. With the clean energy economy, hopefully we accomplish the goals of job creation. Our main focus is to create an innovation, knowledge-based environment in the state of Nevada. Innovation is going to create new ideas. It's going to get the university systems thinking about how to develop new processes, technologies, and we hope those technologies will stay in Nevada, hire people, lease business space, warehousing, and create more jobs. So what is NIREC? We're a nonprofit, and our mission is to, I hate when it does this thing. So we want the system of higher education, people in the community to think about innovation. Now innovation is, somebody explained innovation and commercialization as, innovation is turning ideas into research. Commercialization is turning that research into money, jobs, products, etc. So when you think about innovation and commercialization, those are pretty much the two best descriptions of the words I can find. So if we can get everyone thinking about innovation, commercialization, get people going to school to tackle these goals, you will create a knowledge-based economy, and you'll have a environment of research and development, job creation, etc. And as long as they stay in state, that should employ a lot of people, have an effect on the economy, which is all good things. The way we do this is we go and we find pre-seed ideas. And that might be through any research going on at the universities. Some people who just have a good idea, and they're pre-seed. They don't have a product yet. They just have an idea. They don't have a business model. And what we do is sometimes we have funding depending on what grants and other stuff we have, but we will help them on the whole process to get them to the point where they have a business model, a product, and they're ready to go talk to other funding sources, VC, capital, etc. We have a mentor program. A lot of the entrepreneurs, some people from very prestigious organizations, they will donate their time. If we do have a grant, we will hire them to help out some of these organizations. They will create a complete process to review the idea, create a business model around it, try to get a prototype made. What other parts would be there? Coach them through the process, and when they're ready, and maybe they do have a prototype, we kind of pass them along to the next stage, which would be VC. So if we can get enough people doing this, like I said before, the jobs they'll stay in Nevada, and then they'll start hiring, maybe from the university, more research. A lot of research students that are working, interns, they'll hire those people on and create a company. Here are some of the partnerships we have. Some are VC firms. Sierra Angels is up in Incline, they're an angel investment firm. We work with the DOE, Nevada State Office of Energy. We're working with all the organizations on the bottom. You have University of Nevada, Reno, UNLV, DRI, Sierra Nevada College, which is up in Incline. Nevada Economic Development, they're helping us as well. So why is this so important in Nevada? Obviously, we're in bad shape right now. I checked yesterday, the employment is 12.9%, and we're ranked 51st in unemployment, dead last. 51st out of 50 states, because they count, I believe,
Guam.
District of Columbia,
okay.
So Washington, D.C. So obviously, we have a very large need to get everything moving again. Now, why we're in this bad situation right now is because we have boom-bust economies. Our largest economies in the state are construction, gaming, retail, construction, gaming, and retail. And those are boom-bust. So in good times, they're great. In bad times, everyone wonders why we didn't think of doing something else in the meantime. And since that happens, we have to think long term. We're in a crisis right now. We should get the best of that crisis. Don't waste a good crisis, as some people have said. So while we're in this, we need to think, how are we going to set Nevada up long term for growth that isn't so cyclical? And that would be the clean energy economy. Stakeholders do not historically work together, as you were talking. If you can get some people with a rebate program, etc. People need guarantees that if you're going to build a large-scale power plant, you need to have those incentives in place so that if you complete the project 7 years from now, the tax credit or the incentives that you thought you were going to have when you started the project are still there when you complete it. Or else you get halfway through the project and someone says, we can't fund this anymore. So, if you look, this is Nevada's PV resources. So this is regular solar panels, crystalline, thin film, etc. And as you notice, Nevada, mainly Southern Nevada in this case, is perfect. Now some people argue they have more solar resources, but given the temperature of Las Vegas, the panels heat up, causes energy resistance. Northern Nevada, we're a little bit cooler. The panels stay. Did you know about this? The panels stay at a lower operating temperature. When you have lower temperatures, the systems can operate more efficiently. So essentially, Nevada is really good. I think they said we're second in the nation for best solar production. I think a place in Arizona. It's the high altitude.
Are you sensitive to temperature on the panel or the inverters?
I think it's panel.
Panel.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I've been told
I think
keep
the
my
whole system,
inverters
because
cooler
anytime you
if
get
possible,
large amounts of heat, it's going to create that resistance. And there's a degradation loss in high heat. So when you get higher temperatures, on a hot day, we'll get 102 degrees, and that's fine. When you get 120, the panels are really sort of overloading themselves.
So there's a threshold somewhere up over 100 somewhere.
Yeah, and there's graphs. Hamilton Solar, some of their panel manufacturers, they create their spreadsheets. They might have a temperature chart that shows the power curve based on heat.
Design then.
Yeah, and there's technology out there right now that plan on pumping cold water through the back of them to keep them at a low temperature. Interesting idea. If they were in Nevada, that would be the kind of project we would support and try to get them. Now, concentrated solar resource is something that is really starting to get really big in the state of Nevada. This is the trough system, where you have a parabola, and it's pretty much just a mirror. You have a tube that runs right through the center, and either it's water or it's some sort of plasma or oil that heats it, and they pump that, heats water, steam generator, and it creates power that way. Minimal resources. It's pretty low tech. Down in Southern Nevada, there's 2 projects, I think, going on right now. I don't know the names of them. Solar One, I think, is a concentrated trough system. And they're building, and I'll get to it later, they're building a new power plant, solar power plant outside of Tonopah. and it's the Solar Reserve Crescent Dunes project. That is they call it a power tower. Pretty much a bunch of, I think you've seen it, there was a movie that had them in it where it's a bunch of mirrors in a field, and they all point directly up to a central base. And up in that base is some sort of molten salt, and that gets up to thousands of degrees of temperature. And they can pump that salt into a system where it heats water and creates a steam generator. But the great thing about that is they can pump it, and that salt stays so warm for so long that it's a storage system. Instead of battery storage, it's heat storage. So if you have a peak time and they've pumped all the salt to an extra site, and you have peak times, they can pump that salt and produce power on demand, which is actually great, because a lot of the thing everyone's talking about right now is how do we fluctuate the base load and peak power, everything else. So that's going on in the south as well. And the third great thing about Nevada is our geothermal resources, and they're doing a thing right next door. Northern Nevada is actually great. We have tons of geothermal resources. I've heard some people say that we're number one in the country for geothermal resources. I've also heard somebody say we're fourth. But looking on the map, I would say we're pretty much number one. So these three things, Nevada is a prime target to, one, capitalize on these resources, but two, the resources are here. Companies should be coming here and starting up businesses centered around this. Someone shouldn't go to, New Hampshire to start a solar company. They're away from the resource. They may have the technology and knowledge base there, but it would be better if they were at the source. Now, we need that technology and knowledge base so that we can have companies starting, creating, and developing here. I talked to a company in Spain the other day. They test panels and a bunch of other stuff in Spain. They have a huge research facility. And we had UNLV introduce themselves, and they're going to do a technology transfer and maybe send some people to teach in each other's universities and such. But if we can create people thinking about this idea, if you have a testing center, you can just put it right outside. You don't need to go have this off-site crazy testing center in the middle of nowhere. Nevada is also prime because we have a really good RPS right now. It's 25% by 2025. A really interesting point is that California has just increased theirs. It's 33% by 2020. Some people say that they can't meet that. If they can't meet that, that gives Nevada a prime opportunity to export power to them. And hopefully that's renewable, clean power. They can buy it to us at a premium to serve their peak load times. It would create a huge industry for power production to export it. Other states, I don't know. Arizona doesn't have too much of an aggressive portfolio, even though they have great resources as well. So other states have really been successful with doing the type of things that NIREC is doing. Utah is number one for startup companies in innovation. It's not necessarily clean energy, but just creating startups. They beat MIT with a quarter of the budget. I think they've developed I don't even know the number. 79 companies since 2005, which is amazing. Yeah.
Who's running your program?
The guy's last name is Britton, I think. So they have entrepreneurship centers at the campus. They have technology transfer offices. They have, they've developed around the university a total environment to spur these type of organizations. NIREC is somewhat separate from the Nevada system of higher education, but we're trying to get them to start thinking that you have to have your researchers thinking very along the lines of turning their research into technology. Some aren't. Some want to study it for study's sake. Some see huge gain in their ideas, and we want to help them turn it into a reality. Now, Northern Nevada, we have the Earthquake Research Center up here. It's pretty renowned in the United States. and we have a lot of geophysicists, and they can help with all of our geothermal. So if we can leverage that knowledge into getting them along the ideas of, we want to turn your knowledge into ways to help the geothermal industry, we can create a cluster, and they would be doing really well. UNLV is more focused on solar. As I said, they're talking to the research company in Spain. I think in the next couple of years, you're really going to see UNLV turn into a center for solar power world around. So this is what we do. We commercialize technology. It's kind of a cyclical thing. That creates IP generation. Other people start doing it. We help them turn their businesses into reality. We attract other companies maybe outside of the state that are also doing this and say, hey, we're doing this here, look at what we've done, maybe you guys should come over, we can help you as long as you set up shop in the state. The legislature just passed a couple of things that are going to help this. They did start a private equity fund under SB 75, which incorporates a little bit of state funding, some venture capital. They get a group together, they go find companies to seed, and they give them the money they need, they start businesses, increase the economy. The Knowledge Fund is exactly what Utah is doing. So we're going to give money to our universities and research organizations to start thinking entrepreneurially, like an entrepreneur. And then the Catalyst Fund is trying to get researchers from out of the state who are best at their ability to come to UNR or UNLV and teach. This is the renewable energy cluster model. So, as I said, geothermal in the north should be really good. You get an anchor company like Ormat. You get the university starting to create technology. If Ormat has maybe Ormat has already started research on an idea. They need help. They go to the UNR and they say, we need to do more research on this topic. We were thinking we'd hire a research team, but you guys have the resources and you guys can, in the process, train a bunch of new students. Why don't we do a technology transfer and you guys can do the research for us. And when we're done, we'll share the fruits of our labor. Ormat will have a great new product or idea. The university will get credit for it, and you guys can continue to do other research on that topic. So you get all these little parts. You get the private sector supporting companies like Ormat. You get the universities training, doing research around this idea, and then you get government to sponsor policies that will spur this, which I just mentioned in the last three. So in our strategy, we're going to mentor those entrepreneurs, whether they have pre-seed ideas. We do some education around just getting your ideas formalized. And then if they are past the pre-seed phase, some of the mentors that we have will sort of help them further along down the line. We have a contract with the Nevada State Office of Energy right now to go out and find projects that are already, projects that are maybe not completely solidified yet, or projects that have just started. So the Solar Reserve Crescent Dunes, we're actually going to create a matchmaking event where they set up a matchmaking event in Tonopah and find all local suppliers, all local employees, so that when they do go get around to building, they hire local help. They don't outsource it from somewhere else. Another project would be, well, the UNLV and then the company in Spain. That's something that we did to make that connection to help Nevada. So this is our acceleration process. Typically you have your idea. We find ways to help you research it. Maybe it needs a little bit, maybe it's not complete yet. Maybe it needs to have a little bit more things looked into. So we kind of help them find and research it. Maybe it needs to be explored a little bit further. And then maybe we get into the prototyping phase where we have engineers working on it. We help them develop a business model and presentation so that they can go out and try to get more funding. So right now, as I said, we do have some contracts with the Nevada State Office of Energy, the DOE. We are going for one right now called the I6 Green Challenge. It's through the Department of Commerce. The idea is to create two proof of concept centers, knowledge centers. One's going to be here in City of Reno, the other one's going to be down in Las Vegas, and it would be an office directly focused on these types of activities. People could come in and say, I need help with my idea, and we could pretty much point them wherever they need to go. It's a $2 million award, and with that $2 million from the Department of Commerce, the state of Nevada, the Nevada System of Higher Education will give in-kind contribution of office space and other resources. That is supposed to be decided upon in the next 3 weeks. We've been going for it for 8 months, so if anybody has connections to their the Nevada State Legislature or otherwise, give them a call and say, Nevada needs this I-6 Green Challenge grant because we're in the worst shape in the country, and this would really help, specifically because we have these great resources at our disposal.
And who is it that's going to make this decision?
I think it's the Department of Commerce. Yeah, and we've contacted Kate Marshall's helping with us. Senator Reid has actually met with Joe Biden at the Solar Summit down there, and they both talked about getting this. We're competing against 3 other states, and this is out of a national competition, so we're really, really close. They said that they would announce it by Labor Day, and then they said that it was postponed, which we think might have been due to some of the efforts that some of the people have done on our behalf, is calling and saying, Nevada needs this. So, if you have any connections, do us a favor, do Nevada a favor, I guess you should say. And then there's also a rural outreach program working with the economic development agencies in all the rural areas throughout Nevada to make sure that they get access to some of the resources that we have. As I said, it's statewide, so City of Reno, City of Las Vegas, all the economic development agencies, all of our universities, and some of the VC partners as well. So with the I-6 program, we expect in the first 2 years, as I said, you have the education program that teaches people a little bit about basic business, startup, etc., so that they have an idea that they just kick around their head, maybe they can get educated and take it to the next step. If they do have an idea, we'd be able to mentor them and get them to the stage where they can get funding and actually create a company. So it says right here, this is a laser pointer. It kind of gives some job numbers that would be created by this. And once these companies are created, the 5 and 10 year sees thousands of jobs created. Just think if we can get a company like Ormat, new company like Ormat, to come to the state of Nevada and set up shops, how many jobs will that create in the beginning, years down the line as it grows and expands? So we're back to green job. So what is a green job exactly? So a green job is a job that you're producing goods or providing services for the environment or anything technically green, clean tech, etc. The other part of that is if you're doing anything that involves making things more sustainable or energy efficient. So if you're LEED buildings or energy audits, etc. Green jobs right now are a large scope because if you're an electrician, you wouldn't consider yourself a green job. But if you get on a project like the Solar Reserve project in Tonopah, and they hire you to be the electrician to build a solar plant, technically now you're a green job. And that's sort of the broad scope. So our focus in Nevada is leveraging Nevada's strengths, our geothermal, our solar. We do have some wind up in the northeast. That project's been China Mountain. It's been slated for a while. There is one, Virginia Peak, I guess north of Sparks, as well as one in Washoe Valley. Nevada isn't truly known for its wind resources. That's why we're trying to specifically focus on geothermal and solar. If any project goes on, there are multiple levels of these projects. So you're going to have acquiring the land. You're going to have the years of project planning that goes into it. You're going to have the consulting agencies, the environmental consulting agencies, studies done. You're going to have the engineering, you're going to have the construction, then after everything's built, somebody's going to have to operate those plants. So you're looking at a long-term view. Some of these projects can employ people for years. We produced a study called the Silver Spark. It's on NIREC's website, if any of you are interested in it. It is a study that pretty much looked at all of Nevada's resources and said, what can Nevada leverage to get itself out of this economic slump? Some of the things going on in the military, simulation modeling and imagery. People forget that the Manhattan Project was here and everything else, and we had Area 51, and people don't realize that there's a lot of core competencies around this sector, mainly military, defense funding, etc. Computer analysis, Nevada's financial services sector is actually pretty strong. I think this is something that we can leverage. Another one is our engineering, which is always really good, given our mining and our geophysicists, water rights, etc. Everyone's sort of centered around that. But one of the two biggest right now are mining, since gold is so high, and energy creation and transportation is another factor that we have about it. Building the transmission, especially if we start exporting power to California, is a huge part of all this. So one of the things about Nevada's geothermal industry cluster is that right now there's 20 power plants, and I think they have plans for 65 more. And they said that they can get 3,500 megawatts of geothermal in Nevada, which is amazing. As of right now, every single major geothermal developer has a presence in the state of Nevada, which is exactly what we want. If you have a company in Norway that wants to do geothermal, and they're going to come to the U.S. to develop a headquarters, chances are they're going to do it in Nevada, which is exactly what we want. We want the same to be done in solar as well. So this is what I talked about with all the levels of going into any sort of project. It's multi-level, multidisciplinary, and all sorts of knowledge jobs, skilled, unskilled, etc. So you have your site selection. Mainly you have your energy assessment to assess the possibility of resources. Then you pick your site, you acquire the land, you permit it, you go through the years of transmission planning, etc. You develop agreements with your producers. NV Energy has to buy the power from you with the power purchase agreement. You engineer it, you permit it, you build it, and then you operate it, which is the huge portion of this. Financing as well. Like I said, Nevada has a pretty good financing sector, so we can leverage that as well. We did want to talk about, so this is green jobs, some of the renewable energy companies that are hiring. Some of them aren't in the state of Nevada. Hopefully they will be in the future. But First Solar right now in Mesa, Arizona, they have 2.6 gigawatts of solar planned that they're going to sell in the next 4 years. And they're hoping to create 4,000 construction jobs. But as of right now, they have 200 positions open on their website. And those are over 11. Oh, that's this one. They're based in Mesa, Arizona, but their projects are going on in Nevada, California, and Arizona. So those will eventually come in state. Solar City, they're in San Jose. They expect to hire 200 to 300 people by the end of this year. And they have projects going on in 11 states. I don't know if any of them are specific to Nevada as of right now. Solar Bridge is an inverter manufacturer. They're hoping to hire 75 engineers by the end of the year. And the Solar Reserve Crescent Dunes project, they expect 4,000 direct and indirect jobs. Hopefully they can pull this from Tonopah. If not, hopefully they pull from the rest of Nevada. We don't want to see them, outsource too many jobs. But one of the events that NIREC is doing is matching the developers for Solar Reserve with the companies already located in Tonopah, and eventually with a large enough time frame, if some of the people in Tonopah aren't familiar, maybe they can get the training they need to be ready for when that project is ready to be built. After everything's done, they see 45-hour operational jobs to manage the plants. And if anyone wants to, there's a lot of companies hiring right now. It can be found on Green Tech News Media, this website right here. There's an article on their main page called Labor Day. So I suggest if anyone wants to, you can go read that article. There's just too many to put on some slides. And that's about it. I did have some samples of some of the companies that we're helping right now, but some of them aren't really in the concept, they're just in the concept phase, but we have people working on battery storage. We have a couple companies, one of them Load IQ, working on devices or ideas that can tell you how much every device is using in your house. And both of them are doing it in two different ways. One uses a little box that goes in and you plug into it, and that reads how much each device is using, and it tells you it, in real time. And I'm sure a lot can be incorporated in the smart grid when the smart grid actually becomes a reality. But the other one can read the line fluctuations, and I guess each device in your house has a signature, I guess, an electric signature, and they can read those signatures. And essentially, you won't have to do it by device. It reads the signatures and can tell which device is using what in your house, and can create that through algorithms and other such. And they're still they're polishing it up, because right now, I think they're there. It's just not perfect, so they have to go back, and that's what we're helping them is get more of that research done so that it's perfected. And then they can take their idea and build a model around it, and then go try to get funding for it. A lot of geothermal companies, as I said. What would be some other biofuels, etc. None of them that I know of are hiring right now, just because they're in the concept phase. NIREC's job isn't to see them along to the job creation. It's just to help them in the initial pre-seed stages. So, I'll open up for questions now.
DRI was in the news a week ago, and it's related to politics and the economy. But brain drain was the question.
Yeah.
Even though they're mostly privately funded, the public funding for the state has been shrinking, and there goes their brains competitive elsewhere. Maybe Utah being a big recipient of some of their best scientists. But that concerns, related to recession and politics. It's like you're up against a wall, because they're very important, right in line with what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and then the Catalyst Fund is funding to keep those people here. Because if they leave, and they're going to start it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So if you have researchers doing stuff on biofuels, and maybe they have a technology, a lot of the companies that we're helping right now, there's 40 companies. Some of them have come from DRI. They're researchers at DRI. If they leave, and maybe another state is willing to help them, just like NIREC is, or the Economic Development Commission, etc. If they're willing to help them and say, hey, the Nevada economy is bad, and education system is cutting funding. If you want to get out of there, come over here and we'll fund you and we'll give you everything you need, and you can start a company there. We don't want to see that happen. And so luckily that Catalyst and Knowledge Fund will help. It's not going to make it perfect, but hopefully it helps keep them here and attract other researchers and developers. Yeah.
On the battery storage, what kind of battery storage are they working on?
I don't know specifically the type of battery storage. One of them might be hydrogen fuel cell. I'd have to go back and look at them. Some of them are still proprietary and confidential, so I don't even have access to some of them. I'm more on the outreach side. Are the mentor programs and the entrepreneurs and residents that we pay through our funding to help out, or the Small Business Association, or the Small Business Development Association, they mainly help them. They go off and do whatever they need, and then when they're ready, they tell us, these are the successes, and we go out and we do a lot of education and outreach and say, these are some of the successes, these are some of the companies that have been created. Right now, I don't know if we've had a couple spin-offs that have actually turned into companies. I don't know what stages those are at right now.
Somebody could come up with a cheap substitute for copper.
Sure.
And some of the the rare elements that are sort of integral to all our solar work.
Yeah.
I'm looking at $10,000 for copper right now,
That's
just to
that's
run
insane.
a line. I mean, the cost there and payback on solar just went up.
Wow. One thing that I just realized, or I just spoke to someone the other day, is Nevada has lithium deposits. We're the best in the nation for lithium deposits. And that sort of presents another layer. So we've been talking about geothermal clusters and solar clusters. If we can get all the battery technology companies, if we can get the electric vehicle manufacturers, the ones that are building the batteries, if we can get Tesla Motors to actually take an interest in Nevada because all the lithium deposits are here, you can draw those companies here and say, if Tesla might outsource their battery, but whoever's developing their batteries might be looking for a home. And you can say, hey, as long, and that's where we need to go back to university and say, if we have a battery manufacturer that got the contract to supply Tesla Motors with all their new batteries, or the Chevy Volt, and they're looking for a home, and they say, we'd love to move to Nevada, but you guys don't have the knowledge, the skilled labor, or knowledge base. So we need to close that gap. And you go to the university and say, listen, in a couple years, these companies are going to be moving here, and they're going to be looking for engineers in battery technology. You need to start now, and you need to start educating people, so that when they're ready to move, they can hire people from the university. So lithium, I just found out 2 weeks ago, is going to be a huge factor. Right now they're getting it out of Chile and Argentina, and Nevada is going to be hopefully a player. Rare earth metals is another one. Not Nevada, but right now China's manufacturing all the rare earth metals. As the price increase, just like gold, they're going to start opening up mines in California. They had a mine in the 70s in California for rare earth metals. For magnets, So wind generators, some of that stuff they use magnets, permanent magnet energy generation, they're going to need those. Anybody else have some questions?
We have a 1934 Arrow motor windmill that pumps water.
Okay.
And there are so many of these windmills when you start driving around looking that are sitting around, and to come up with a way to convert them to not just pump water but also produce electricity.
Sure.
It would be sort of interesting.
Yeah, a lot of things are happening in the small wind
Recycling.
community wind space. I worked for Windspire for 2 years before I came over here. They're a small wind manufacturer, and they create the vertical ones. And I don't know if there's any in this area.
There are.
I think Russia tried.
That's right. They did that.
Yeah.
They did that a couple months ago.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, there are.
Do you know where those are? I'll go take a look at it because I was actually involved in that project. And
Yeah, I didn't get to see it was too. She just grabbed here.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of vertical
I'm not
ones.
sure exactly where they are, but I can find out for you.
all right, I'll ask someone before I leave. But. Nevada does have wind. It's good. It's not amazing. Some of the other, North Dakota has great wind. They have 18 mile an hour average winds. They pay 6 cents a kilowatt hour, which is horrible. Well, it's great, but it's not very. The ROI payback takes a long time. Hi.
Hi.
She used to work with the tribe
Hi.
on the Limit project.
Do you know where the Windspire turbines are?
We
around
had
here?
grants for 4, only 2 have gone up so far.
Okay.
So one's at Stort. It actually got put in right at the Stort community. And then one's going to be over by the Carson Gym. We had a little bit of, the Carson
Gym.
community
Okay.
for the Washoe tribe. There's a gym there. And there was just some issues with some electrical wires and placing it so you can still get wind because there's so many buildings over there. And I'm not quite sure what the future building is going to look like.
Is that one at Creslerville?
No.
Oh.
Then there's one in Drexlerville behind the community center of the Washoe Tribes community.
right.
building. And then one's going to go over by the Head Start there.
Okay.
So.
I'll have to get directions because I haven't seen them, so I'm just
yeah.
gonna drive by and check them out.
Sure.
Maybe not as deadly
Thanks.
as avian flocks.
No, one of the things about the Windspire is the way the rotor's set up, it has the blades, so even when it spins, you still see something behind it. So even when it's spinning really fast, you still see the envelope of it. It's usually birds that go around it.
Yeah.
The other ones that move really fast,
Surprising.
you can't see it through it. So
I worked at a pine tree for a while.
yeah.
They've had a bald eagle incident there.
Wow.
And they had some mitigation for condor because they were fairly close to the southern Cal coast over there.
Wow.
And tortoises and things on the ground.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a huge thing right now. Is nobody's actually done a comprehensive bird study on the effects, especially smaller wind turbines.
complicated picture, but
It is a complicated picture.
There is
Yeah.
an environmental impact.
I had someone on Lake Michigan up in Green Bay, and he had a pier, and he wanted to put them along the lines of his pier, and everyone agreed to it, but the bird issue came up. And we said, as much as we told them the wind spire shouldn't be that bad, they said prove it. There's no studies done to show it. So.
Should be the study. Put one out there and
Yeah.
just watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have some materials here. I do want to say something. The Nevada State Office of Energy gave us a contract to go around and collaborate every single company in Nevada doing anything regarding renewable energy. So we created a directory. So anybody in Nevada doing anything should be on this directory. So I'll give you guys some of these cards, go on the directory, and if anybody has a company,
We do reclamation at these places where
yeah. No, if anyone knows of a company that isn't on the directory, please encourage them to go on and sign up. We want it to be the go-to site to get everything. If somebody's looking for anything, they should be able to go here and find them.
Hey, stop over. Our booth's right over there. I got
Okay.
a post you might want to see on.
All right.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Thanks, man. That's good.
Well, thanks very much. Bryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Won't say I love you, baby. Won't say I need you, baby. I'm gonna get you, baby, when I do it wrong. Living's mostly wasting time. I waste my share of mine. It never feels too good. Just don't take too long. You're a soft glass. I'm a gentle man. Got the sky to talk about, down till I come. Days up and down they come, like rain on a coffee drum. Get most remember some, but don't turn none away. Everything is not enough. Nothing is too much to bear. Where you've been is good gone. All that keeps the getting there. Doesn't live life all over night. Shake the dust off of your wings and sleep out your eyes. It's goodbye to all my friends. It's time to leave again. Here's to all the country system here. The bottom's low, the trouble's clear. Don't pay think too much on things to leave behind. I might be gone, but I won't be long. I'll be bringing back the melody and the rhythm that I find. We all got holes to fill, and holes are all that's real. Some fall on you like a storm, sometimes you dig your own. Choice is yours to make, time is yours to take. Some dive into the sea, some fall upon the sky. The wings to fly, oh low and high. Shake the dust off of your wings and step out of the ride. Shake the dust off of your wings, the tears out of your eyes. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, we're at the with Julie Reagan, and we just finished up. This is kind of like the after interview with the first annual TRPA
Community Appreciation Day.
Community Appreciation Day. I got here later. I had hoped to get here earlier, but what I did see was a lot of kids having fun, a lot of people coming here asking questions, a lot of deep thought. I like that. I got here and I saw a lot of food that had been eaten,
Yes.
and the food was fantastic.
The free food is always a plus.
Free food's good, and well, the goal. What was the goal of this event? You've been around for a while with the TRPA. I think seen you on the plaque for a number of years.
Yes.
When you have something like this, is the goal to kind of like let people know that we're here and we appreciate them type thing. Just what the name is.
That's right, absolutely. We are part of this community, and we wanted to recognize the community for all that they're doing for the lake. Because I think there's so much going on, we're all really busy in our worlds, but people every day are making a difference for Tahoe. And that's what our mission is all about, and we wanted to recognize the community for what they do. And we actually gave away what we call the Lake Spirit Award.
Excellent.
The 2 Spirit Awards to individuals who are making a real difference. So the unsung heroes of Tahoe we wanted to recognize, and we were
Excellent.
happy about that.
Who was the selection?
We had a number of nominations. We had a review panel that looked at all the nominations.
Okay.
And we gave away 2 awards. One was to a woman on the North Shore, Ruth Dworsky, who was nominated for the work she's doing on defensible space.
I like it.
She works with her community. She has a homeowners association on the North Shore. That she got all her neighbors inspired to do volunteer work. They had big break their pine needles cleanup days, hundreds of hours of volunteer work to make their community more fire safe.
That's
They called
awesome.
her, I think they called her the Queen of the Forest.
Well, that's an awesome award. That's a great
Yes.
selection, and
And then we had another, and that was Ruth from the North Shore, and then we had Mahmood from the South Shore, who used to be an engineer with Douglas County. Now he's working with the Nevada Tahoe Conservation District, and he is a champion for water quality. He's really led the effort in Douglas County on the Nevada side to comply with what we call the total maximum daily load, TMDL. But basically it's a water quality restoration plan for the lake. He's a brilliant guy, he's very driven, entrepreneurial style, and he got everybody galvanized to get going on this restoration plan for the lake. And his leadership has inspired many, many people in Nevada and around the lake, really, to help Tahoe. So we wanted to recognize him. And we also gave an honorable mention to a gentleman by the name of Tim Rowe, who works for the U.S. Geological Survey.
all these people are stars. I've heard of all of them. so
They're
far.
just great.
Yeah,
Tim is has worked in the basin and here in Tahoe for 20 years, and he's a hydrologist, but he is the face of the USGS at the lake. He's done so much for Tahoe, and he's always a champion. He does great volunteer work. He's an avid bike rider. He's really big into the bike coalition. So we wanted to give him special recognition as well. We actually had someone here from Senator Reed's office, Matthew Tuma, came
Okay.
from Senator Reed's staff to present them with certificates of appreciation from the senator himself
That's
to
fantastic.
recognize the great work that everyone's doing for Tahoe, because this lake is very important to Senator Reed, and it was wonderful having them here to celebrate with us too.
Well, one thing I liked about this was you get a chance to talk individually with, one thing about the TRPA that no one, I don't even appreciate, so all you hear is some things that they're creating conflict here and there, but you have so many young people that are so brilliant, and they're like all these brilliant consultants. And if you come to an event like this, you get to pick their brain. I met a person I had met before named Shay, and she's on the plan.
The regional plan team, right?
And I thought, why have I missed her? And then I also like talking to Ted there, and every time I talk to him, it reinforces my mind that the aquatic invasive species is in the right hands, because I lived in Michigan and just saw a lake die. It's still alive, supposedly, but you just don't want to use it.
No.
And so I just know that it's in the right hands. And I was talking about things about you didn't overreact and close down the lake, which I may have done because of my experience with Michigan.
Right.
And why he reassured me by showing me some testing that it wasn't just guessing. They were doing some testing and they were doing it right. So if there was any, if any of these tests would have came up, then they might have had that as a backup plan. So when you go to all these booths, I don't know, what was the number? You had about
We had about
10, 12
close
maybe?
to 10.
So you go to each one of them, you can pick the brain of young people, and these are young people, of what our future holds. And you think, we're in good hands.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that, because we do have some great talented folks that work here, and they're so dedicated to the mission of the lake, and they're part of this community.
Yes.
They have kids in school that they're participating in soccer and kids sports and shopping at Rayleigh's and Safeway, so we're really part of this town.
Well, that's a big thing. You know, some of the employees brought their dogs and their kids, and we could see them playing, dancing to the group.
Right.
The
We
group
had
was
music,
excellent.
bison, bluegrass music.
Well,
They were
they-
fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, we're going to put one of the songs on. They gave me permission, and they're fantastic, and you'll enjoy their work. And anyways, I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope the community really appreciates what you're trying to do. And the more you do it, I think
yes.
it'll get easier. Because
That's right. We want to do this every year. This was our first time doing it, and we had about 100 people that made it out tonight. And next year, we're hoping for 200 and building from there, because it is important to celebrate success. In our community, sometimes we get bogged down in what's wrong, what the negative. But really, when you look at it, we're so lucky to live at Lake Tahoe.
Well,
We had the most incredible sunset. It was beautiful.
I shot the band with the sunset behind it.
Oh,
And I was trying
lovely.
to get Shay and Nancy McDermott with the sunset behind them. It was beautiful.
It was
absolute-
beautiful.
And the weather was perfect. So when you know it, when someone likes you, when the weather's perfect.
That's right. You must be at Tahoe when the weather's perfect, right?
Well, I'm in town because this place is perfect all the time.
It
I
is.
don't care what season. And when you have so much sunshine. But back to us, we have brilliant minds here. Utilize them. If you have questions, call.
TRPA.org.
TRPA.org.
Look
Julie
us up.
Reagan will let you know where to find you if you need someone to ask for first. And we'll get you to the right department, and we'll answer those questions. And just keep an open mind. You have the right people that are going to take care of our future. And anyways, thank you for inviting me. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. It's always great to have you, and glad you were able to show the community what we had going on tonight.
That's the name of the game. Well, it's been Michael Smith reporting from the TRPA. Thank you very much.
you.